I've carried this weight for so long, silently enduring your actions that cut deeper than you realize. I never told you this, but your words and choices often leave me feeling invisible and unworthy. Each time you dismiss my feelings or brush off my concerns, it feels like another layer of trust is peeled away. I never told you this, but I'm afraid of how far apart we might drift if this continues. I want to scream, to shout, and to make you understand the pain your actions cause. I never told you this, but the hurt lingers long after the moment has passed, leaving scars I can't easily heal. There are nights I lie awake, questioning if I'm being too sensitive or if my feelings truly don't matter to you. I never told you this, but it's hard to love someone whose actions feel so dismissive. Sometimes I feel like I'm walking on eggshells around you, afraid that any word I say will trigger a reaction. I never told you this, but it hurts to feel like I have to censor my emotions just to keep the peace. When you choose to prioritize other people over me, it creates an emptiness that I can't seem to fill. I never told you this, but that emptiness speaks volumes about how I perceive my place in your life. Your laughter can feel so distant when I'm struggling to find joy in our moments together. I never told you this, but it hurts to see you happy while I'm wrestling with my own sadness. Each time you leave my messages on read, it reinforces a feeling of rejection that I wish I could shake off. I never told you this, but your silence speaks louder than you think, and it hurts more than I can express. I've seen the way you treat others with kindness and warmth, and I can't help but wonder why I don't receive the same. I never told you this, but it stings to feel like I'm not deserving of your best self. When you ignore my needs and desires, it feels like I'm screaming into a void. I never told you this, but the silence that follows is deafening, and it leaves me feeling even more alone. There are times when I just want to be heard, to feel valued in our relationship. I never told you this, but your actions often make me feel like my voice doesn't matter at all. I want to believe that you care, but sometimes your actions contradict that belief. I never told you this, but it's exhausting to keep trying to convince myself that I matter to you. I've wanted to tell you how your carelessness affects me, but fear holds me back. I never told you this, but every time you dismiss my feelings, I feel like I'm less important than I wish to be. When you laugh at my vulnerabilities instead of supporting me, it cuts deeper than you know. I never told you this, but that laughter feels like a betrayal to my trust. I've often felt like a burden for needing reassurance or support. I never told you this, but it hurts to think that my need for connection might be too much for you to handle. I find myself hesitating to share my thoughts with you, afraid of how you might react. I never told you this, but it's painful to feel that my feelings are met with indifference. Each time you make a decision without considering my feelings, I feel a little more unimportant. I never told you this, but I yearn for us to make choices together, to feel like a team. Sometimes I just want to be held, to feel your comfort wrap around me. I never told you this, but your neglect in those moments makes me feel isolated in my pain. When you belittle my dreams and aspirations, it chips away at my confidence. I never told you this, but I wish you could see how much your support means to me. I long for a day when I can share my thoughts without fear of judgment or dismissal. I never told you this, but the walls I've built are a reflection of the hurt I've felt from your actions. Your impatience during my struggles leaves me feeling even more vulnerable. I never told you this, but I need you. Understand that my journey takes time, just like anyone else's. I've tried to be strong, to brush off the pain, but it seeps into my everyday life. I never told you this, but your actions impact my happiness in ways you may not see. Sometimes I wish you could feel my heartache for just a moment so you could understand the depth of my pain. I never told you this, but it's a struggle to keep pretending everything is okay. When you don't acknowledge my efforts, it feels like my hard work goes unnoticed. I never told you this, but I want you to see the love I pour into our relationship. I often find myself replaying conversations in my mind, wondering if I could have said something differently. I never told you this, but the what ifs haunt me in the quiet moments. I've hidden my tears behind a smile for too long, trying to protect you from my pain. I never told you this, but it's exhausting to keep putting on a brave face when I feel so broken inside. Your unpredictability makes it hard to know how to approach you when I'm feeling vulnerable. I never told you this, but it hurts to feel like I'm always guessing how you'll react. There are days when I feel so alone, even in your presence. I never told you this, but the loneliness is suffocating, and it makes me question our connection. I've watched you engage with others, and wonder why I can't receive that same warmth. I never told you this, but it stings to feel like I'm not worth your time or effort. Your lack of empathy during my tough times makes me question if you truly understand me. I never told you this, but it's painful to feel like you're emotionally unavailable. When you constantly compare me to others, it makes me feel inadequate. I never told you this, but I wish you could appreciate me for who I am, flaws and all. I've struggled to find my voice when I feel hurt by your actions. I never told you this, but the silence in our conversations sometimes feels like a barrier to my healing. Your inability to communicate openly leaves me feeling stranded in my emotions. I never told you this, but I long for a space where we can both be vulnerable without fear. Every time you prioritize your needs over mine, it reinforces my insecurities. I never told you this, but I'm beginning to wonder if I'm enough for you. When I share my fears, I need you to hold them gently, not dismiss them as trivial. I never told you this, but the impact of your words can echo in my heart for days. Your absence during moments I need you most makes me feel abandoned. I never told you this, but it hurts to think that my struggles don't resonate with you. There are times when I wish I could rewind our conversations, hoping to express my feelings better. I never told you this, but the regret of not speaking up lingers. When I'm vulnerable with you, I need you to nurture that openness. I never told you this, but your indifference makes me question if I can truly rely on you. I want you to see the impact your actions have on my spirit. I never told you this, but the weight of your neglect sometimes feels like too much to bear. Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in my emotions while you stand on the shore. I never told you this, but it's hard to reach out when you seem so far away. Your tendency to prioritize everything else over our relationship makes me feel unimportant. I never told you this, but it's draining to feel like I'm always competing for your attention. I wish I could explain how your neglect feels like a constant reminder of my inadequacies. I never told you this, but I long for the reassurance that I'm enough for you. There are days when I feel like I'm the only one invested in our relationship. I never told you this, but your actions make me question if you feel the same way. When you act dismissively, it feels like my heart is being torn apart. I never told you this, but those moments leave me feeling more fragile than you can imagine. I yearn for your understanding, but your actions often leave me feeling unheard. I never told you this, but the silence speaks volumes, and it hurts. I've fought to be strong for both of us, but sometimes I just want to be vulnerable. I never told you this, but your actions make it hard to let my guard down.